Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we have a very special video in store for you guys and a wonderful, beautiful guest, a dear friend of mine, Crystal Bonnet. She's a raw food chef, and we're going to be doing an epic recipe today, a golden curry mango wraps. These look out of this world, like insane. So we're so honored that Crystal's going to come on, share one of her recipes. So let's say hello to Crystal. How's it going?
Hi, good. It's so good to see you. Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah, it's so good. You're glowing like always. I've interviewed you before, and I remember when I had you on, like, and I met you in person. I told everybody you're literally one of the healthiest looking people, if not the, that I've ever literally seen. And I think you're in
Yeah,
your 40s, right?
yeah, I think that's so funny because I think we are such our own worst critic. And see, I don't see myself that way, right? And I wish that, I wish that we could all see ourselves through other people's eyes because I always think that about you. Like you
Thank
just
you.
always look so amazing.
Well, thank you,
No, I
Crystal.
thank you. I appreciate that though.
And for anyone watching who doesn't know you, how long have you been in the raw food game, like preparing these dishes, and
Yeah.
why are you passionate about raw food?
Oh my gosh. So we're filming this in May 2025, and this is actually my 12-year raw vegan anniversary.
Congratulations.
So in 2013, I was living in Edmonton, Alberta. I was getting sick all the time, and I thought I was eating healthy. I'll do the short version because I know I have already the long version of this on so many other videos. But I was getting sick all the time. I was eating a pescatarian diet, but I was eating a lot of processed food. So I wasn't getting any fresh vegetables and fruits, which give us the hydration and the micronutrients that we really need for cell overall healing. And I was at home on the computer looking up cleanses and detoxes when I was really sick. I was off work and I came across this 30-day raw food meal plan.
Hmm.
And I just knew, like intuitively, I knew I looked at this and I'm like, this is exactly what I need. This is what my body needs. And so I went all in. I had nothing. I went and bought the Vitamix, the food processor, the dehydrator, all the supplements. I didn't even have spices, right? So I had to literally start from scratch, but I knew I had to really just invest in my health. And I never liked cooking before. And people always think that this is crazy because all the raw desserts and everything I do, like I've still to this day have never baked a cake in my
This is
life.
insane to me because you literally create, I would say, probably the best raw desserts and dishes like out there in the world. So that's so great. That just happens to people. They go raw, they get so creative in the kitchen. I love it.
But that's what I fell in love with it. Like I didn't even know that I had a creative side until I got into raw food. And that's what got me so passionate about it and the way that it looked, the way that it tasted. And I remember saying to my husband at the time when I was making this food, I was like, this is how food should taste. Like I've never experienced flavor like that in my life. And I just kept going with it after the 30 days. I just went from pescatarian to 100% vegan. And now I've been 100% vegan and gluten free. And then now I eat about 90% raw, depending on the season. I have like, I love having my warm drinks in the morning and like in the winter,
Yeah.
I'll steam potatoes. But like actual cooking, I do not like cooking. I don't know if it's the heat processing or if because the food just looks so dead to me. It doesn't feel creative to me at all. Where dehydrating is like one of my favorite things to do in raw food because the textures and the flavors that you can come up with in a dehydrator that mimic those comfort foods. And I'm someone who can't just live off smoothies and salads. Like that's not sustainable for me. And other people are
Yeah,
really
I think a lot of people think that too.
but some people are so successful at it. Like you like amaze me because the way you eat is like you just I see I could never do that. I really need those satiating, comforting foods, and the dehydrator really does that for me. So I just yeah, but I went all in. I took like every course that I could take at the time, and then started my farmers market business, and then went into teaching. And then I was teaching in person around the world, and then I was catering a lot of retreats. And then I took my business fully online in 2019.
Congratulations. I know you have an
This,
amazing course and amazing stuff too. So I'll link that down below. And the dehydrator, like it's not, I always think it's like intimidating and it's really hard. So you're going to show us today it's not that difficult, right? Because I always just get intimidated. That's why I don't have a dehydrator.
yeah, it's honestly, I used to have four dehydrators. Now I've downsized to three. So I have a really big one, 16 tray. This is my smaller countertop one, which is a 10 tray. And then I have, of course, the Excalibur 9 tray. Now, the thing for me is I love to do a huge batch of stuff at once because if you're going to use the dehydrator, you want to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I love just doing batch prepping the dehydrator. I'll take 2 days. And then the great thing is most of the things can be frozen. So you can have your raw breads, your wraps, your granolas, your activated nuts and seeds, sprouted and dehydrated buckwheat, just all ready to go at all times. And you can just thaw the bread or the wraps in the dehydrator when you want to have your lunch or dinner. And so it's really easy to batch prep that way.
Wow. Okay.
But
Amazing.
we'll
And
go
tell,
into all
okay.
that as well.
And this, okay, this recipe, I saw it yesterday on your Instagram and I was like, this is, and I saw you say like, this is literally, you think maybe one of the best things you've ever had. And it looks mouth-watering and
Yeah.
delicious. So before we hop into the recipe, tell us a little bit about what we're making today.
So we're making golden mango curry wraps. Now, the reason why I wanted to come up with this recipe, for one, I love curry. And I make these amazing coconut veggie wrappers. Oh, and I also wanted to do something with curried lentils. You know, you see
Mhm.
online all the time with these cooked recipes, like the curried lentils. And I love sprouting lentils. They're one of my favorite things to eat every day. And so I decided to put it all together and make this amazing coconut mango curry wraps. Now, we're going to do a veggie coconut wrapper that's done in the dehydrator. And this is served warm. So for, again, those people who are just getting into raw food and think that all raw food is cold,
Mhm.
this one is warm. And so it's very satiating and very comforting. And then we're going to make a coconut curry sauce. And we're going to warm that up in the blender with sprouted lentils, some fresh mango, and a bunch of yummy veggies. Now, the mango is the key ingredient that ties the whole recipe together. Having that sweet component is what made this just really up leveled it. So without the mango, you're not going to get that wow factor.
Okay, this
But yeah,
sounds so good, Crystal. Okay, anything else you want to share before we
okay.
hop into it?
Yeah, and actually, we're not using any coconut meat. So for those who, as soon as I mentioned coconut curry or coconut wraps, we're not using any coconut meat because it's hard to get in a lot of areas around the world for people. So I'm going to show you how to get around not using the coconut meat, but still getting the textures and the flavors.
Okay, and
These
the curry,
are
curry has a
ingredients.
lot of benefits, right? I think there's a lot of benefits to consuming curry.
Yeah, of course, just spices in general. Spices, yeah, in general are so good for you. And curry, of course, I think most people love, Indian foods and curry. Indian cuisine is one of my favorites.
Me too. It's really delicious. So I'm super stoked to see this, super excited to make this after too. And without further ado, let's get into it. And again, we're so honored to have you on. I know people fly you in from around the world for your recipes, and you truly are the best of the best. So everybody stay
Thank
tuned, get making
you.
this recipe. It looks awesome. And I'm going to do this uninterrupted so we can just hand the camera over. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Jillian, for that introduction. I really appreciate being here. Okay, so we're going to get right into the recipe. So you have the recipe download for you there. You have the link in the YouTube description. I have an entire recipe book for you. So if you want to download that or open it, then you can follow along while we're making the components. Now, the very first thing that you have to do is you have to make sure you have sprouts going already. We're going to be using some lentil sprouts and salad sprouts for this recipe. Now, sprouts are the easiest thing to grow. You can grow these amazing nutrient-dense foods in your kitchen by growing sprouts. If you don't know how to grow sprouts, there's a ton of videos on YouTube, but I have the information all in the recipe download for you as well. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the black lentils that we're going to be using. So black lentils are my favorite lentils to use. So black lentils, or also called beluga lentils, these are super high in antioxidants. They actually have the highest protein level out of any other lentils, which is why I like to use these. So this is why black lentils are just my go-to lentil to use now in raw food. I'll show you what the sprouts look like when they're done sprouting when we get into assembling our wraps. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make our wrap. So we're making a veggie coconut wrap. These are so versatile. You can switch up the veggies, change up the flavors, and make many different varieties of this wrap. Now we're making a coconut wrap, but because a lot of people can't get young coconut meat around the world, I'm going to be using dried shredded coconut instead. So this also gives a wonderful texture in the wrap. You're going to absolutely love it. And dried coconut, anyone can get this. So we're using unsweetened dried coconut. We're also using a base of peeled and chopped zucchini. This is going to add some body and some moisture to the wraps. Now you'll notice on the recipe download that I've given you the gram measurements for each of the veggies. So for the chopped peppers, the corn, and the zucchini, make sure you use the gram measurements for those to make sure you get the exact amount, because veggies hold a lot of water. And if it's too liquidy or you add more water to the recipe, you're going to have to add more binder or it might not work out for you. So then we have some thawed corn. So I always use frozen corn that I've thawed because fresh corn is really difficult to get throughout every season. But if it's summer and you have fresh corn, then I would use that instead. And then we're using some yellow pepper. You can also use orange pepper because these wraps are going to be this beautiful, vibrant yellow color. And then we're going to be using a little bit of olive oil, cold pressed olive oil. This just adds something for flavor balancing. And then we're going to add some powdered psyllium that I've powdered in a blender. So this is going to help give us that flexibility for the wrap. And then some ground golden flax. So I've just blended golden flax seeds myself in a blender to create a flax meal. And this is going to help bind all of the ingredients together and also help with that flexibility. And then I like to just boost the color. So I like to add in a little bit of turmeric powder. And then we have some salt again for flavor balancing. So this is so simple. I mean, it couldn't get simpler. All we're going to do is just blend up the ingredients. So I like to add all of the liquid ingredients first. So all of our veggies hold the liquid. So let's add those in first. And you can use any blender for this. You don't have to have a Vitamix. There are so many options now for blenders on the market, really good blenders and inexpensive ones that you can even get on Amazon. And we have our dried coconut, our flax, and then our spices. So this recipe is going to blend up quite thick. So if you have a Vitamix, you're going to need your tamper for this. So what I like to do is I just like to start blending on low speed, and then I'm going to increase to high. Okay, so that looks amazing. So it's going to be quite thick and you're going to have some texture, but remember the texture comes from the dried coconut, but which is really good when this is done dehydrating. So this is what you want it to look like. You can see this beautiful, vibrant color. So let's talk about how we're going to create these wraps because you have a few different options. So you want to get a lined dehydrator tray. If you've never used a dehydrator before, I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel that deep dives into dehydrating and shows you how to use the dehydrator, how it operates. So I would check those out if you're totally beginner to dehydrating. So you want to make sure that you have a liner on top of your tray. And I have these amazing templates here. Now, unfortunately, this template is no longer available. She shut down her business a while ago, but Sedona or TriBest also has wrap templates, and I've given you the link on the recipe download for that. So you can use a template. If you don't have one, that's fine. It doesn't matter. If you don't have one, you can also just spread circles out on your tray here. So that's, again, going to work just as fine. So the way that I do this, you want to make sure that you have a small offset spatula. Offset just means you can see it's not perfectly straight. It has a little bit of a dip here. This is going to allow us to get right in there and spread it out. Then you're going to take a 1/4 cup measuring cup and a spatula. And you're going to take a 1/4 cup of the batter. And you're going to add it onto the tray into one of the circles here. Because this takes approximately a 1/4 cup of batter. So we're going to spread this out. We want to get this as even as possible. Now the trick to these wraps is you don't want to do these too thin. If you do them too thin, you're going to have spots that are not going to dehydrate properly and are just going to be too thin, and you're going to see right through the wrap. So we want them thick, but not too thick and then not too thin. So you just want to make sure you're not going to see any of this liner through the batter. I'm just spreading it out like this. You don't have to be super picky with this. So then I'm going to do the same thing again. Add this on here. And don't worry about getting the template messy. We can always clean it after. Okay, so that one looks good. And we're just going to repeat the exact same process until we've used up all the batter. Now, this mixture makes 6 wraps. So if you want to batch prep and you want a bunch of these, because these can be frozen, if you freeze them, then you just thaw them in the dehydrator to warm them up before you want to use them for your lunch or dinner. So you can make a huge batch of these. I would double the batch, and then you have 12 wraps that you can use for whenever you want. And this is why raw food is just so much easier, because you can just have all of these amazing components done for you, ready to go, and then you just throw your meal together. You don't have to wait for anything to cook. You can pre-prep almost everything in raw food. All your dressings, your sauces, any dehydrated goodies. So I'm going to show you how to do the 4, and I'll do the rest later. Okay, so then all you're going to do is you're just going to remove the template like this. Then you have these gorgeous, perfect circular wraps. So this is much easier than creating circles on your own with the offset spatula. So if you can get a wrap template, it will make your life so much easier. Now the trick to these is we're going to put them in the dehydrator, and they have to dehydrate at a low temperature. We're going to dehydrate them at 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have to keep it at 105 so that the edges don't get crispy, and keep these on the liner as long as possible. So I give you all the time and the directions within the recipe download there. Then at the end of the dehydrating time, you're going to flip them for about 30 minutes. So you're just going to flip them, just means you're going to take your liner, you're going to flip it upside down onto the mesh liner so that we can get airflow on the other side of the wrap. And you're going to do that for about 30 minutes. You're going to put it back in the dehydrator, and then that will dehydrate the rest of the wet pockets that you see on the wraps. Now, the edges shouldn't go crispy if you're keeping it at the 105. If you over dehydrate them, it's okay, because what does dehydrating do? Dehydrating removes water from the food. We can always put it back in. So that's another amazing thing about dehydrating as opposed to baking. If you mess something up with baking, it is impossible to fix. With dehydrating, if you over dehydrate them, all you're going to do is you're going to take some water either with your hands, or you can put water in a spray bottle and you're going to spray the wraps with some water, get them all moisturized, then put them back in the dehydrator and watch them and make sure they don't over dehydrate again. So then once you do that, then you're going to put them in the fridge. And so once we get into the assembly, I'm going to show you exactly what they look like when they're done. So now we're going to get into the coconut curry sauce. I'm really excited to show you how to make the coconut curry sauce because it's super simple. And again, we're not using young coconut meat. We are going to be using coconut butter instead. So this is going to give us that coconut flavor. So coconut butter, or also called coconut manna, is just stone ground dried coconut into a butter. So you can melt your coconut butter in the dehydrator. So you just put it on a shelf in the dehydrator and just let it melt down before you put it in the recipe. And then make sure you soak some dates beforehand, and make sure you pit them as well. They have to be soaked to soften for blending. And then we're going to be using some garlic. We have fresh ginger. We have our curry powder, of course. We have a little bit of cumin and salt. We have some apple cider vinegar to add a little bit more acidity. And then the base is going to be some red pepper. And then we're adding a little bit of water. So this is red bell pepper that I've chopped and I've removed the seeds from as well. So again, a super simple recipe. We're just going to blend up all these ingredients. Now, one thing I want to note is that because the coconut butter solidifies when it gets cool, when we add in cold ingredients, so the red pepper I had in the fridge, it's going to start setting the coconut butter as we start blending. So I'm going to show you how to get around that and how to work with that. I'm just going to add in all of our ingredients. Oh my gosh, that curry powder smells amazing. So I'm just going to peel my garlic and ginger. So you can grate in your ginger, or you can just put a piece of ginger right in because we're blending this. Whatever your preference is, I'm just going to take the peel off. And this is how I peel my ginger. I just take a knife and I just peel off the peel like this. I don't use a spoon because honestly, it just takes forever and I just don't have that kind of time. We're just going to peel our garlic here. Love it when the peel comes off easily. Add that into the blender. So then we're going to add in the water and then add in our lovely coconut butter. Now, some coconut butter doesn't liquefy that easily. So that's why on the recipe I say softened coconut butter. It just has to be soft. It doesn't have to be pure liquid. So we're just going to blend this up. We want to get it nice and smooth. So always start on low speed. And we might need our tamper for this one as well. Okay, so right now I'm just blending this up until it's smooth because we're going to blend it again to get it warm before we assemble our wraps. Because remember, we're going to have our wraps warm before we serve them. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to prepare the rest of the veggies that we're going to put into the wraps. So the first thing you want to do is you want to grab a big plate because we're going to add the veggies onto this plate because I like to be organized and have everything out in front of me before I go to assemble the wraps. So we have some beautiful mango here. I'm going to slice this up. We're going to shred some cabbage on the mandolin, and then we're going to shred some carrots. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to deal with the cabbage first. If you've never used a mandolin, I'm going to show you how to use one. So this is a Japanese mandolin. They're very sharp. You need to be extremely careful with these. So I'm just going to adjust the setting here. You want to make sure that you shred the cabbage pretty thinly. Now, the reason why we're using cabbage, so before I get started with the cabbage on the mandolin, I just like to cut off a little bit on the end right here. And when you're doing this, please use the guard that comes with the mandolin. I'm just going to use it without the guard because I have a big piece of cabbage here and I do this all the time. Now, when we're adding the cabbage into the wrap, so you can see all the colors that we're using in the wraps now. We have a lot of monochromatic colors. So whenever I'm coming up with recipes, I also like to use color theory because color theory is going to help, obviously, the recipe look aesthetically pleasing. So we have our coconut curry sauce that has an orange base. We have mango, which is also orange. We have the carrot, which is orange. We have the wraps, which are kind of a yellow orange. And so I was like, okay, we need something that is going to complement all of these monochromatic colors. So purple complements orange, whereas blue complements yellow. And you can find this on a color wheel. So this is why I decided to add in purple cabbage. But of course, it also has amazing health benefits. So we're just going to thinly slice it. And you can also pre-prep this, right? You can pre-prep all your veggies. So you can prep a bunch of shredded cabbage, shredded carrots. You can have them in your fridge, just ready to go to assemble your wraps, put on your salad. So I'm just going to add this onto the plate here. Okay, so that is the cabbage. See, so that is super simple. And now we want to shred our carrot. So I like to just take off the ends, and then I like to peel my carrots because it doesn't matter how much I scrub them. They just, if I don't peel them, I just taste the dirt. So I just like to peel them first. So if you want to make a few wraps, I would shred up a couple carrots. But one serving for me is 2 wraps, but everyone might be different. Someone might want 3 wraps as one serving. I'm adding that onto the plate here. And I just cut up these ends and I give these to my dog because he loves carrots. Okay, so then we just have our mango. So let's slice up our mango. So the way that I do this, I just like to cut off the ends. And I always say if you're using mango for a recipe, you want to get a couple of them because mangoes are like avocados. You never know what you're going to get until you open them, right? So I just slice them up like that, and then we're just going to take them off the peel. And we're just going to put them into our wraps just like this. So I'm going to add that on to the plate. We just need you. I'm making 2 wraps for myself right now. So I'm just making enough veggies and things I need for the 2 wraps. But I'll go ahead and cut up this one anyways. Make sure these aren't too thick because otherwise it's going to be hard to close our wrap. And I'm really excited to show you how I build my wraps because I build them more like a taco than a burrito. But you can build them however you want. Okay, so now for the rest of the ingredients, I'm going to go over the sprouts. But one thing that I just wanted to mention first is I'm just warming up my wraps in the dehydrator here. So I'll just show you that because you want them to be warm when we assemble them. So it doesn't take long, even just 10 minutes in the dehydrator. So that's what these look like when they're done. Like, look at how beautiful these look, the color. Look at the flexibility on these. Like, these are just my absolute favorite wrap. Again, they're super versatile. You can switch up the veggies. You can use beets to make red wraps. You can use greens to make green ones. You have so many different options there. So now what I like to do in my wraps is I like to add some extra microgreens. So I have these beautiful fava bean microgreens here. I get those delivered. I have a microgreen subscription, which is amazing. And then here is our lentil sprouts. So this is what the lentils look like when they're done sprouting. So I sprout them until the tails are pretty long. These take about 3 days. And depending on the season and the temperature of your home will depend on the time as well. It could take a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. And so that's what these look like. We're going to mix the lentils with the coconut curry sauce to make our curried lentils. And then this is the salad sprout. So I just like to do a mix. They're just called salad sprout seeds. And you can get them, I get them from my organic grocery store. You can buy them online. You want to make sure you get sprouting seeds. And that's what these look like. They just add a really nice, wonderful texture and so much more nutrition to the recipe. So once we have everything out in front of us to assemble our wraps, then we can get started. So we need to grab a bowl because we're going to mix the lentils in with the curry sauce in the bowl. Then you have your wraps ready to go in the dehydrator. We have already done dehydrating, but they're warming up and we have all of our ingredients out in front of us. So the first thing we have to do is we have to blend up the coconut curry sauce to warm it up again. So let's get that done. You don't have to blend it very long, and it still stays under the raw threshold. Okay, so that looks good to me. Wow, that looks so delicious. And you can see the steam. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off the blender. That's when you know it's warm. So then what we're going to do, I gave you the measurements in your recipe download on how to do this, but I'm just making 2 wraps. So I'm just putting in enough lentils for that. I may have a little bit more. So we're going to add in our curry sauce, and you want to be really generous with this. So we want these to have a lot of the sauce. We want them to be very saucy. But keep in mind when you're doing this, you need to save a little bit extra because we're going to add some of the sauce onto the wraps before we add in our ingredients. Okay, so that looks good. Oh my gosh, it looks so delicious. Look at how amazing that looks. There's our curried lentils. I mean, look at how easy that is. This recipe is so simple, but yet so satiating and delicious. I had a dinner party a little while ago, and I did a 4-course dinner, and I served everybody 1 wrap and as part of the 1 meal out of the 4-course dinner. And it was these wraps were everyone's favorite out of all of the recipes. So that's how delicious these are. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to assemble. The fun part. You're going to take your wraps. We're going to take some of the coconut curry sauce. I just take a knife and do this. And you're going to add this onto the wrap. You want some extra sauce on there. I had to lick the sauce off the knife there. Yum. So then what you're going to do is you want to create a base. So I take these microgreens. You can also use like green leaf lettuce. And I just like to put these on. We're only going to put the ingredients on half of the wrap, okay? Just taking off some of these big stems. Again, you can use any microgreens or you can use lettuce instead of these. So now the trick to building these wraps is you don't want to overdo it. So less is more because otherwise you're not going to be able to fold them. So then we're going to add on our sprouts. How gorgeous those sprouts are. I'm obsessed with sprouts. I always have sprouts going. It's just a staple that I have in my raw food kitchen all the time. So then next we're going to add on our curried lentils. And again, you don't want to go too crazy with these because we got other ingredients still to add on. They're nice and warm. So then now we're going to add in our mango. So you want to get a couple slices of the mango for each wrap here. And then we're going to add on some carrots. I mean, look at how gorgeous these look already. Oh my gosh. And you can just flatten that down a little bit as well. And then we're going to add on our purple cabbage. So you can see what the purple cabbage does with that color, right? Adding this complementary color on just brings the whole recipe together. Look at how gorgeous those look. So now I'm just going to grab a plate. And I'm going to show you how I serve these on the plate here. So how I do this is I don't roll them up like a burrito. I just fold it in half and I eat it like a taco. So I'm just going to press this down so that it stays. Look at how amazing that looks. Oh my gosh, this is going to be my breakfast slash lunch. Can't wait to dig into these. And so the same thing here, we're just going to fold it over. And you can just press it down like this. And then I just like to put this on top. I mean, look at how amazing that looks. So when you serve these to someone, because for my wraps, the reason why I do this is I like to be able to see what I'm getting in the wrap, especially if you're serving this to someone, they're going to see the ingredients. They're going to be like, wow, this looks so beautiful. I love how this looks. And I just love serving it this way. Plus, it's really easy to eat this way as well. So then to eat these, like I said, I would just pick it up like this and I would just take a bite and eat it like a taco. But I don't want to do that because I want to take a beautiful photo of these after. So as you can see, like, look how simple and easy that was. But we made something incredibly beautiful and nutritious, obviously so delicious and satiating. And again, it's really easy to pre-prep all of your ingredients and have them ready to go. So I want to make a note about the coconut curry sauce. Because this has coconut butter in it, if you have any left over, if you're making the entire 6 wraps, you won't have any left over. But if you're making a couple for yourself and you put the coconut curry sauce in the fridge, because it has coconut butter, it's going to thicken up because coconut butter hardens when it gets cool. So then you can just soften it in the dehydrator. You can just put the coconut curry sauce in the container, in the dehydrator, and then just let it soften down before you mix it with your lentils again. So just store all of your components separately, and then you have everything ready to go and assemble your wrap when you want your meal. So I really hope you enjoy this recipe. And if you do make it, please post a photo in our Chefs of Crystal Dawn Culinary Facebook group, because I would love to see what you are working on.
All right, Crystal, good job. That looks literally everything you make looks insane. I can't wait to make it. So thank you so much for sharing that. And okay, so if somebody wants to get like the exact ingredients, because I know a lot of people are like, I need all the specifics, is there a place that they can get that for so they have everything before they prepare it?
Yes, I've created a full recipe PDF book for you, which you can download in the link in the YouTube description. So download that. I give you sourcing recommendations, equipment recommendations. I give you the sprouting recipes and all the recipes for this whole meal, and also links on how to get in touch with me if you have any questions.
Okay, perfect. And I think I heard through the grapevine on Instagram, you have something exciting coming up. There's another course. I know your courses are really popular. And like, before you let us know about the course, like, why raw food? Why should people get into more raw food versus the cooked food, do you think?
Oh my goodness, so many health benefits, and also not just the health benefits, but also the creative aspect. I just think that raw food is so much funner to make. So especially if people are bored in the kitchen and they're bored of cooking and they're bored of their meals and they're like, oh, I want something new and fun to do, then raw food is definitely going to be for you. You're always going to learn something new with raw food. Even it doesn't matter what skill level you're at, because if you're beginner or you're advanced, you're always going to learn something new. Everybody has such a different style.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, raw food just gives you life because it's so full of enzymes, it's so full of micronutrients, it's super hydrating. Your digestion, like even if I eat sprouted lentils as opposed to cooked lentils, like I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Jillian,
Mm-hmm.
but cooked lentils, like I cannot handle it. My stomach, they just wreck my stomach. But sprouted lentils, because they're living, we've given them life, they digest so easily. So it's such a different experience. You're going to feel so
Yeah.
much lighter, more vibrant. You're going to have better skin. You're just going to have more energy. And it's just, yeah,
Yeah, when you
so
eat
much
living
better
food,
all
you
around.
really feel alive, especially when you eat like very high or all raw. And yeah,
Yeah.
your recipes are amazing. So take us through like your courses. You haven't see you show us that raw foods don't have to be boring because a lot of people think I don't want to give up cooking. And
Yeah.
you show us it's really almost better looking than actually better looking than any of the cooked food, right? All your desserts and all your meals. So yeah, let us know how we can learn more. Like I should hop on one of your courses. What's going on with the latest course?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I'm really excited because I just opened the doors to my brand new program. It's called 6 Weeks to Raw. So this is something completely different than I've ever done before, because a lot of my courses in the past have been certification courses, which I still have available. But I always get from the community, like the biggest pain point I get is that people think that raw food is so complicated or that they don't have time to do raw food. So I wanted to create something that was going to be shorter. So this is only 6 weeks as opposed to a certification program, which would take up to a year to complete. And it's an implementation program through coaching, accountability, through all the recipe classes. That's going to get you completely set up for your raw food kitchen and get you into the groove and flow of creating all these amazing, delicious raw food recipes every week. So we go
Wow.
through a different menu every week. So the first couple of weeks is like getting set up and getting familiar with the course and you
Yeah.
doing the orientation. And then weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6 are our menu weeks. So we have these 4 amazing menus. So your kitchen is going to be completely stocked with raw food for those 4 weeks. And you're going
Okay.
to
You're
learn.
making me want to do this even though I'm raw. I'm like, I want to do what,
Yeah.
can you give us a sample of what a couple of the meals are like?
Oh, yeah, of course. So honestly, like some of my favorite recipes I've ever come up with. So the golden mango curry wraps are in this course as well. But I've created this pepperoni flatbread. So you know this condiment right now that's super popular called hot honey? Have you ever heard of
No,
it?
I'm not on TikTok. It sounds like a TikTok thing.
Well, it's like hot honey pizza, hot honey chicken wings, and it's basically spiced honey. That's what it is. So I wanted to create a vegan version, and I created a whole recipe around this condiment. It's called the pepperoni flatbread with caramelized onions and pineapple. So it's basically this buckwheat pizza flatbread with this like gorgeous marinara sauce, macadamia cream cheese. You got your caramelized sweet and spicy pineapple and onions and arugula and sesame seeds. And oh my gosh, Jillian, it
Wow.
is like
Okay.
seriously one of the best things I've ever eaten other than this recipe. And so you're going to get beginner recipes. You're going to get recipes at all different levels, which is great because you're going to learn every single technique in raw food. And so that's what's great about this program is that you don't have to commit to a big, robust certification program. You can learn everything you need to know about raw food within the 6 weeks, but also we do the live coaching every single week.
That's
So it
great.
holds you accountable. If you have any questions, we're doing it as a live group. So we start June 15th. So doors close June 14th.
Yeah.
And we go through as a group together through the 6 weeks, which also helps you complete it. And it's going to be a lot more accountable for people and they're going to actually want to show up and actually complete the coursework.
Okay, I have a good feeling about
This is,
this. And I love you because you're so
yeah.
genuine and you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and you dedicate your whole life to this lifestyle. And to make, like, when you do things, you do them right and you do them perfectly. So, everybody go support Crystal, get the course, get healthier, and get creative. Like, you can make these meals for your
Thank
family
you.
and they can be like uber impressed and be like, oh my God, like, this looks like it came from France, right? Everything you make literally looks like it just came from like the most perfect shop in Paris, France. And I'm here for it. I love it. So,
Thank
good
you.
job. Did you?
Also,
Yeah.
one really important thing I wanted to mention for this first group, I'm offering the hugest discount at $200 off. So
Wow.
if people wanted to get into this program at the lowest price, it's $200 off until June 14th.
Okay, perfect. So I'll put that all down below. And is there a date that the doors are closed? They can't get into the course anymore, or no? I forget.
Yeah, June 14th, because we
Okay.
start on June 15th. So you have to sign up by the 14th.
Okay. Well, let's go, everybody. Let's
Yeah.
get more raw together. Let's start making these beautiful dishes and let's support Crystal, learn from her, and just become our best self. So this has been
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thanks for coming on. And to end off, maybe what is your favorite thing about eating raw food or creating raw foods? And then let everybody know where they can find you too. So I'll put everything for the course down below. Is there a code that they use or it's a link? It's just a link, right? To get the
Yeah, you
discount?
just have your link. I'm just quickly going to grab my dog because he's
Okay.
starting to bark here.
What kind
So
of dog do
sorry.
you have, Crystal?
So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well,
Oh,
he's
oh,
adopted from
he's so
Mexico, so
cute.
I think he's a Maltipoo. We're not sure.
How's it
But yeah,
going with him?
he's
He is so cute. I
oh,
just got a dog. I'm so excited too. He's so
I
cute.
know your dog is so cute. No, it's going really good with him. He's a rescue, so he has a lot of the rescue tendencies, right? So he's a little more high maintenance, but he's like my dog soulmate.
Aw, I love it. He suits you. Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry. So I'll just answer your question. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, first of all, if you do make the golden mango curry wraps, I would love for you to post a photo in my public Facebook group, Chefs of Crystal Dawn Culinary, because I love to see what everyone is working on. And if you have any questions, you can email me at info@crystaldawnculinary.com. And you can find everything you need to know at www.crystaldawnculinary.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. And your favorite thing about eating raw or cooking raw? on
Oh my
cooking?
gosh, the how I feel after
Exactly.
eating it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel energized and full of life, which is how we should
Yeah,
feel, right? We shouldn't feel
exactly.
like, oh, I need to nap for like half the day or I don't feel creative or I feel lethargic. So raw food is where it's at. Anyway, this has been so amazing. I love sharing more recipes, more in the kitchen. You guys have been asking for it. So we'll have to bring you back again. We should make you a regular. Your recipes and you were just amazing, Crystal. We love having you on.
Thank you.
So Crystal and I also did a podcast in LA. It was either a year or two ago. I forget when. I forget
Two
when.
years.
Yeah, 2 years
Two,
ago. And for
yeah, it
some
was a
reason,
while
you
ago.
you look younger now than then, even, and you looked incredible then. So I'm gonna pop that on the screen right now so you can learn all Crystal's secrets. And I'll put everything for the course down below. Go sign up, go join it. Maybe you'll see me in there. I want to get in there too and do this. And I love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.